everyone, welcome to a new masterclass. I'm Shaima Al Sayed, and today we're tackling a topic that hits close to home: feedback. Many companies are already having their employees put in the year end self assessment, if not been done already, getting ready for the year end feedback. And managers will soon have to give their feedback back, and this is very important because you want to do it right. If feedback at work has ever gone sideways or felt awkward, you're not alone. Today, I'm not here to tell you to be nicer or harsher. I'm here to tell you it's a language problem. Now, I can't speak to someone who speaks only English and Arabic and expect to get results or be able to communicate my thoughts to them at all. We have to speak the same language so we can understand each other. So once you learn to speak feedback in the right emotional tone, it hits different. But before that, let me introduce myself. I'm Shaima Al Sayed. I'm attorney by profession and a business coach and trainer by passion. I'm founder of Rihla and Power Shift coaching program. I'm an author, a public speaker who has been on TEDx Abu Dhabi and hosted TEDx Al Ain, and a previous president of Toastmaster Club. I also co-host in the podcast Clock In, where we talk about the challenges of professional women at work. I wear different hats and I bring all of them together to my empowership clients to help them to get to their next level of professional greatness, whatever that goal may be. So now, back to today's topic on feedback. Now, if you've ever given good advice that got ignored or felt frustrated after a futile feedback session, you're not bad at giving feedback. Well, some people are, but most people really aren't. You're just not speaking the right language. Today, we'll unpack what we miss, why words alone aren't enough. Now, the issue isn't always what we say, it's how it lands. And neuroscience backs this up. There are numerous studies on this, and I won't bore you with the details for it, but you'll find that available in ample, studies online. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to go in there, but I've read a lot on it. But technically, wrong language shuts the brain down because the other person can't understand you. They do not know what you're trying to say. So, especially if it touches someone's identity or pride, it kind of blocks your brain off completely, right? So, then what do we do? Let's dive into that topic. Now, the real issue is in delivery, it's reception, and what's going on inside people's minds. Now, there are three classic triggers. Now, first one is the truth trigger. They think what you're saying is wrong. They kind of live in a state of denial. They don't agree with what is told to them and they think you're just talking rubbish about them. The second one is the relationship trigger. They don't trust the giver either because they have a bad relationship with them or they don't know them at all. Now, I can't go and randomly give feedback to someone I do not know, I've not established a repertoire with. And so that relationship triggers like, who are you to talk to me? Who are you to give me feedback? What do you even know? There's these people that come across as defensive. And so that's a relationship trigger. And then the final one is the identity trigger. It threatens who they see themselves, what they think of themselves. You kind of, if you don't do it right, you may be dealing with people's doubts and insecurities, and you kind of create a personality shake, and you have to be very careful. Now, these aren't personality flaws, they're neurological reflexes. So, then what do we do? Okay, we need to understand first. If no one hears your feedback, the problem isn't you, it's the language you are using to speak to them. Your words could be 100% correct. You're right. There is nothing wrong with what you're saying, and your feedback is on point. But if they don't connect emotionally, they'll bounce off. You may even turn it into something that can be taken offensive. So in our region, feedback often sounds like criticism, even if it's meant to help, even if it's meant to support their growth and their movement to the next level. So we have to be quite careful. Why? Because we're not tuned into the emotional language of the person across from us. And that's why it may come across as wrong. That's why I built something called the appreciation language model, and that is an emotional translation, right? So these are not random, they're universal emotional styles. When I was in college, I took up an elective subject, psychology, which we needed to do with my law subjects. And our professor decided to teach us something off the curriculum. She was quite excited about teaching us, and I'm glad she did. It was the five love languages, and it has changed my understanding of human behavior and how to deal with people. I took that concept and studied it for a few years and translated to the appreciation language. I discussed this with many of my mentors, took feedback from people, and sort of studied and implemented it in a few case studies that I had done. And if you align your feedback to someone's preferred language, it lands deeper and lasts longer. I've seen teams transform with just one survey and curiosity. Now, these aren't just appreciation languages, they're feedback filters. Okay. So there are five of these. The first one is words of affirmation. So if you're a words person and your manager shows you acts of service, there's already a static, there's already a disconnect. So knowing the language shifts the energy from correction to connection. So a person whose appreciation language is words of affirmation would want to hear something from their peers or from their manager that has to be put in words. Oh, you've done a great job. Oh, you're excellent. Oh, I don't know what I would do without you. Oh, this person is the superhero. And they like that hearing the words, and that makes them feel valued. And when you do that, you connect with them emotionally and they are more open to receiving the feedback. The next kind is the acts of service, which is you can tell them all the wonderful things in the world, but if you're not there with support, if you're not there with resources or with advice, if you, it's that's the kind of service that can be provided within the work environment, then they will not feel seen, they will not feel heard, and because you're not supporting them, you're not helping them, you're not helping in serving them or serving their ultimate goal. And if you just tell them, oh, good job, bravo, all that, it's not their language. It's like speaking, like I said, I'm speaking to a person who speaks in English, but I'm talking to them in Arabic. The third kind is the quality time, which is basically you spend time with me. And falls a lot in the relationship between mentors and mentees. You are giving me part of your time, your valuable time to sit with me, listen to me, understand where I am, where I'm going, or where I want to go. And you are spending your time and your thought and your experiences, the quality of it with me in for my growth or for my movement or for my improvement. That is the quality time. Receiving gifts. Now we have to be careful in the corporate context, and especially that I am a legal person and an attorney, it is we have to be very careful of what are considered as gifts, but we can do the simple ones. Sometimes, just giving a certificate of appreciation or giving an off time. If you tell them, you know what, take the day off. You've done such a wonderful job for us. Take a day off and have a rest. That's a gift of time, right? You're giving them time to just, go spend the day with your family. It's just time. And so this person would listen to anything you tell them. They'll put you on a very high pedestal. And then the physical touch. We have to be extra, extra careful over here. Okay. We have to understand the person. We have to understand the context. We have to understand the culture and the gender differences. So just don't go about touching people randomly for no reason. But if it is permissible and specifically by the person that is maybe a pat on the back, a good handshake that says, excellent job, great, you did wonderful. That is there. And so that Each one of us at any given time don't work with only one appreciation language, but there are between two to three. So then, if the physical touch, of course, is always a challenge at a workplace or where there is no consent or permission, look at the other fours. Maybe there is someone who likes physical touch, but that is not appropriate. So instead, they appreciate quality time. And you know what? I will sit with you. I will listen to you. I will know what you want, where you want to get, and I will give you my expertise and my thoughts and my time in order for us to improve you and give you the feedback that you need. So this is what is the appreciation languages and how it differs from one to the other. Now, great feedback isn't a sermon. It's a conversation. You start with, you have to ease into it. You start with what's going on? Okay, what's going well? Far more powerful than jumping into the problem. And I'll tell you a method that we use in Toastmasters when we evaluate projects. Use curiosity, humility, and shared empathy to create space for change where it feels like more of a give and take rather than a lecturing or a scolding. You have to be very careful with our tonality. You don't need a PhD in psychology, you just need awareness. Lead with warmth and then you build up. The order matters more than you think, right? And then in our Gulf, context is everything. Everything moves through relationships, context, and respect. You have to be careful. There are fragile egos around. There are people who are very prideful. And you have to make sure that you do what is right by giving the feedback that needs to be given, but you have to just not come and say, oh, this is my feedback, take it or leave it. Be more mindful of it. Give feedback that fails to calibrate emotionally, and you may just shut down a person or risk offense. The person will not be receptive anymore. You'll just create and build a wall between you and them. So we don't just say things just to say it, which a lot of managers do that. I have to do this feedback. This is my points. Take it one, two, three, go away. Okay. Well, they don't say go away, but it's implied with the tonality, with the body language, and with the way they handle it. So tone and timing matter. That's not a weakness. That's cultural intelligence. And to the point I was saying that we use this something called the sandwich method of feedback in our Toastmasters evaluation. And Toastmasters, for those of you who don't know, it's a public speaking program, very global, very huge. And I used to be the president of a club a few years ago. And what we mean by sandwich is, you have a sandwich and you have the bread on two sides and whatever the filling is. Consider the bread on the two sides is your positive feedback, and the filling, let's say cheese or ham or whatever it may be, is the constructive feedback. Don't look at it as this is negative, but it is feedback that gives you room for improvement. And so what happens is when you sandwich it between two positive views. So you start off by giving a positive view of the whole matter. And you start off saying, "Oh, this was great job. Let's take it from the context of work. I'm having a year-end review with someone who works under me in my team, and I'm like, you know what? I've looked at all the projects you've done. You've had a great year. You've done quite interestingly. There's quite these projects that you closed. These look really good. The numbers are really great. I do have to say that there is quite a room for improvement. And then you take on the point of, oh, maybe client relationship, whatever it may be that you have feedback. And then once I'm done, close it back with positive. But overall, this is great performance. You are such a valuable member of my team, and I am really happy to have you in there. And I think as we work towards these points that I mentioned for improvement, you only have great and better things to look forward to in next year. So you see, when you start with positive, as it is when you're saying I have a feedback session, people are wary. People are on alert. They have their guards up. And then what happens? There's an automatic wall already in your face. And You can't go there and break it down forcefully and then with negative and then expect that person to appreciate the session you gave them. You need to ease them in. So when you start with positive, you kind of ease them in. Like, okay, this sounds good. And then it makes them more receptive to when you start your conversation on constructive feedback and the ways and room for improvement, not what you faulted at, but what we can improve together as a team. And then they're more receptive to that and they'll take points. And then when you close it back again, they'll walk out of that meeting feeling good about themselves and they will feel motivated to actually make sure that they don't disappoint you, they don't let you down, and they work on the points that you mentioned requires improvement because you elevated their feeling emotionally. And then it is the way you speak. Supposing if you're speaking, giving feedback to a person that we said we likes receiving gifts and you give them the feedback that you know what you did such a great job and to show you my appreciation and everything, why don't you take tomorrow half day off? It was just an example. I'm not trying to set up trouble here for managers, but it's just an idea. You know what? And then the person is more open. They're like, oh, this my manager appreciates me. They see all the good things I do and that when they're giving me feedback on improvement, they have my best interest. You need to play and understand people's psychology in feedback when you want to give them, because the idea and concept of feedback is you want people to do better. You want people to move forward so your organization moves forward. That's how it is. And that's what we want to keep in mind. And so before I move on, let me tell you very quickly about Rihla, my Empowerships coaching program. So like I said, Rihla is my signature Empowerships coaching program. And the word Rihla is an Arabic word that means journey. It's a coaching journey that helps professionals, especially those who've outgrown the old playbook, redesign how they work, how they lead, and how they think. Now, instead of waiting 10 years for your experience to turn into clarity and confidence, with Rihla, it helps you get there in months with structure, reflection, and real world application. You don't need more tactics. You need a journey that matches who you've become. Let me give you a quick overview of its stages. So, the words of Rihla mean something each one. So we have reflect. We first reflect where you are. What do you want to do? Identify the goals, the short term, midterm, and long term goals. A lot of people have trouble with identifying their goals, how to set them up. And then we're going to heal what's blocking you internally and externally and see what's blocking your path. And we harness your strengths. None of us are without strengths and plus points and things that we only bring to the table. And then we lead with this whole program into until we ascend to the next level of greatness. To give you an analogy, take because it's a rihla, it's a journey. We first start at the station where we reflect and identify. We're at the station, we stop there, we identify the goals, where we are, what we have, what we don't have. And then we take the path of healing, harnessing, and leading in our path until we reach our destination and ascend to our level. It could be our first short-term goal, could be our mid-term goals, or it could be our ultimate long-term goals. That's what we do with you in Rahim. Now, back to our topic. So, what you can do now, start small. Before your next feedback moment, reflect. How can I ask first? How do I start? What is my opening positive? The sandwich technique. What is the opening I want to start with? A positive opening, and what is the positive opening that I want to end with? And that's how then I put a structure, my constructive feedback between. Am I matching their style? You would have worked with a person long enough to know what is the thing that triggers them and what is the thing that makes them more acceptive and more receptive to you. Okay. This week, Just try one adjustment and watch the difference. Like, you can try, if you don't know, I mentioned all the different types. Try each type and see which one works best with your team, with your peer, with your subordinates. And this isn't about a full personality shift, it's one tiny pivot. And it creates a whole emotional safety. You will thank me for this once you start trying this. I promise you. It's a foundation of real influence. And I tell you, just choose one of the languages in a week and see, okay, let me do words of affirmation. Do I find any difference in my colleagues' behavior? Or you know what? Let me spend quality time. Take them out, take them down to coffee and say, okay, how are things going on? Are you struggling? How is the family? Quality time. Is everything okay with you? What are your vacation plans? Are you going anywhere for the that's quality time. Do they enjoy? Do they appreciate it or do they not like to? If they don't like to talk too much, maybe that's not their language. Try the other one, right? Trust me, it will take a little time, a tiny bit of time, but it is time worth spending. All right. Now, if you want to go deeper, I wrote a full book on this and it comes with the tools to practice, not just theory. My book is called Feedback That Connects, and it has annexures, surveys, and templates. It has tons and tons of examples. And you can buy the book from Amazon. I'm sure you'll find the examples and the templates very useful, and they'll be able to even contextualize the whole different appreciation languages and help you to understand the language that you need to use with your colleagues. All right. So just to wrap it up, feedback shouldn't leave you bruised or bitter. It should feel like growth, not shame. And if you want to keep getting stronger, this channel is your place. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Feel free to reach out to me through any of the platforms. I will put the details in the caption. And until next time, thank you very much, and I will see you later.